Welcome to the early Tuesday Best Bet Show. I'm your host, Eric Cohen. You know, for those of you who enjoy the no bet list, it's hitting at 375, which if this was baseball, I'd probably be leading the league in hitting. 8 weeks of tournaments, 3 players on the no bet list have hit. I'm sure the guys will give me some grief later in the show, but let's bring them in because these guys are on fire. We have the great Nejad, host of the Early Edge, one of the great golf handicappers on the planet. And this guy, one of the great golf, writers, commentators, and 2 weeks in a row, Jason Sobel, you have been on fire. We'll get to that in a second. Patrick McDonald is hanging with the big wigs at TPC Sawgrass, so he is not going to be with us tonight. But he did send me some insights to read on the show, and we have some picks from him, so we will get to that. But let's highlight what happened last week. And Sobel, you and Sia a few weeks ago hit Austin Smotherman and FRL at over 100-1. And last week in Puerto Rico, Ricky Castillo at over 20-1, 22.5-1. We went 5-1-1 on tournament matchups. I got that Goddard up top 10 round one. It was a split, didn't include ties, so I got a little bit of that at plus 415. But nonetheless, Sobel, I'm going to start with you. You are on a heater. How confident? Like everything's going through the bucket right now. How confident are you feeling?
EC, this is why I have always said they should play every single PGA Tour event in Puerto Rico. I've hit the winner
last week, I think.
Phillips last year and Ricky Castillo 2 years in a row now. I don't know what it is about Puerto Rico, but I don't know, just finding some long shots at an alternate field event is pretty fun. And yeah, look at the whole crew out there doing some good work. So I guess listeners, viewers, stay tuned because we're on a roll right now and try to keep it going.
Sia, you are really on a roll. And one thing that's awesome that you do is you give out picks for those who don't know on your X profile and in the SportsLine Discord. And you are absolutely crushing it right now. What'd you go with? Something like, was it like 5-1 last week? Something like that?
I didn't have a loss in the matchup department. It was 5-0-1. So I had a tie.
There you go. Yeah.
I had a tie thanks to Matt Fitzpatrick. So for those of you that just watch this show and for some reason don't watch the Early Edge, just know that my round matchups are usually on the Early Edge, sometimes in the SportsLine Discord as well. So yeah, while it's probably not reflected as much in terms of the early wedge recap, Early Edge as a whole, SportsLine Discord was a really great week for me last week as well. But I mean, shout out to Jason because that's 2 Puerto Ricos in a row. I had some guys in the mix on Sunday. I had ADDC and Matty Schmid, but I mean, it was really Ricky Castillo that ended up closing in a big way.
Yeah, I had, it was tough. Give out, Akshay Bhatia, some guy on the SportsLine Discord, not real happy with me for fading Akshay Bhatia. Sepp Straka gave me a cheap thrill at the Arnold Palmer. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show, but let's get to storylines. And Sobel, we'll start with you. This one's kind of a tough tournament to predict. First of all, I want to ask you, wasn't there a split that I used last year that didn't happen, like AM, PM, or PM, AM? Do you know that offhand? Because I think I gave it out.
What you got wrong last year?
It wasn't there like
the one that keeps track of all your ones you get wrong. I don't know.
Well, there's too many. There's too many. If anybody in the chat knows, I think there was like if you go AM, PM, you won like 15 of the last 16 players. I don't remember what it is. If somebody remembers that,
I think it was PM AM, but you also have to keep in mind who those winners actually were, and they, in a lot of cases, they're like the best golfer in the world. Okay. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Now, Sobel, you think that recent form matters potentially over course form?
Yeah, and recent form I think matters here more than it does most weeks. Look, form always matters. You want to take guys who are playing well over guys who aren't playing well. We all get that. That said, on this golf course where I've said for the last 2 decades, I first started going to the Players Championship back in 2005, and I've been to probably 17, 18 of them. Not going to be there this week, but that's fine because I've been there enough. All of that said is that we've seen superstars and long shots. We've seen veterans and rookies. We've seen long hitters, great iron players, great putters. There's lots of different ways to get it done. It's what makes TPC Sawgrass such a good golf course. As so many have said, it's a meritocracy. Essentially, there's no one way to get it done there. If you play your best golf, you have a chance of going out there and winning or contending for this title. But what I found doing the research for this one is that over the last 5 years, what all of the contenders have in common is that they've all played well at some point over the first 2 months of the season. And I went back and looked, 5 years, 26 players. 1 year there was a tie for 5th place. 26 players total have finished in the top 5. 7 of them already had a win early in the season going into this one. I believe it was half, 13 of them had a top 5, and all but one, 25 of 26, had finished inside the top 15 at least one event coming into the Players' Championship. EC, I know you can name the other guy, the one guy that finished top 5 of the Players in the last 5 years that hadn't shown any form coming in.
I'm speechless. Who you got?
Anirban Lahiri, come on.
Oh, jeez.
He's on
is he still on live, or did they kick him off?
He's on live.
Okay, they didn't kick him off. He didn't get relegated. All right, Sia, you're the resident weatherman, and normally we rely on this during FRL time, but you're going to start us a little sooner with some weather updates, I think.
Yeah, I talked to my guy, Patrick's guy, Jim Cantori, and he told. Actually, I did tweet at Kevin Roth yesterday.
Very
probably,
good. Yeah, very.
He's good, and he didn't really have a definitive answer because we're a little too far out. But what it is looking like, and I think this matters not just for DFS, but like for your outrights, potentially your matchups, your finishing positions. It does look like right now there may be an advantage, and if there is, it could be a distinct advantage. We know how this tends to work. Sometimes, it can become a distinct advantage. AM PM looks like it's going to be with the better conditions, particularly from a wind standpoint. What that means is, for those that are uninitiated, Thursday AM, Friday PM, that's the group you would want to go if you were doing a weather stack in DFS, or if you were. Let's say this way: if you had a tie in your outrights, and one was in the AM on Thursday and one was in the PM, you might want to break that tie with the AM. I can tell you, I tend to lean into those a little bit more than others, and a lot of times it doesn't work out for me. So it's really up to you in terms of your risk tolerance. But I know I'm going to be leaning into Thursday AM, Friday PM more than most.
Our guy Mitchell Smith in the chat, this is clutch right here, and thank you. So he tracked the last 20 winners. 11 were PM AM, 9 were AM PM, so not necessarily a trend there. Of the last 6, 4 started in the PM, 2 started in the AM on Thursday. So just good to know. I appreciate you looking that up, Mitchell. Great stuff. Always appreciate your contributions. All right, first of all, I'm going to give Patrick's storyline. So I asked him, do you have anything for us here being on site? He said, major conditions for a major championship, ? Greens are brown, crispy, and making that thud sound already. Really hot out, rough is sticking straight up, going to play tough. So that's some insight. And Sobel, you've been there a million times probably. I mean, does that sound pretty accurate to you?
It does. And what I'm hoping is that it doesn't get too baked out, which makes the tour go and try to change it a little bit. I'm looking back now. It was Ken Duke in 2016, exactly 10 years ago, who shot a 7 under 65 in Saturday's third round, which doesn't sound like anything too special, but the scoring average was like 75 that day. I mean, he was 10 shots better than the field. And so they are very, very aware of not letting the course get away from them. So I know a lot of people here, man, it's crispy, it's getting brown, there's the thud sound on the greens already. And we all think, man, that's awesome. This place is going to be playing the way it used to play in May and playing a little bit tougher. I hear that it's almost like a warning, because I know the PGA Tour, they don't want players complaining. This is at PGA Tour headquarters, their flagship event. The tour wants to make sure that guys aren't shooting 75, the scoring average doesn't get out of hand, and that everyone's complaining about the conditions, and that takes over instead of the storyline about this being a 5th major championship or whatever it might be. So yes, I love hearing that. And yes, I want to see tough conditions. I'm just a little worried that they're too tough too early, and that the PGA Tour decides to go like, let's water everything down, make it softer so we don't embarrass these guys.
And that's great insight if you're going to bet round scores, as I like to do. I mean, listen, you got to put some round score parlays together now that those are available on sports books. What Sobel said, just tread carefully Thursday, Friday. Let's see what they do. Maybe it gets a little bit easier over the weekend. My storyline is we're adding a temporary member of the no bet list just for this week only. He will not go on the graphic. I don't need any more X's, but I can assure you that this player is not going to win this week, and that is Rory McIlroy. Who knows if Rory McIlroy is even going to play? Now, Sobel, you could probably attest to this. Guy has a back injury. He withdraws from a signature event last week on Saturday. When he was in contention and would have made thereabouts of $1 million had he played halfway decent over the weekend. Not sure he was going to win, but nonetheless, he would have made some good money. He withdraws, and he's not even at TPC Sawgrass yet. He's apparently arriving tomorrow. I don't know how you can bet him, much less at 20-1. Am I off base here, Sobel?
So look, everything says don't bet him. I thought it was a little strange last week, and I don't. It's not that the report was wrong. Todd Lewis of Golf Channel, good buddy of mine, I see him all the time. Todd said that Rory told him it was for precautionary measures. It just felt a little weird to me because that's like something Rory does at the Valero Texas Open if the Masters is next week. Withdrawing from the Arnold Palmer Invitational when you're sort of in contention for precautionary measures to be healthy for the Players Championship the next week, that just seemed a little fishy to me. And now, as it comes out, Rory wasn't quite as close to healthy as he thought. All of those things said, am I touching Rory this week? Well, I wasn't until 30 seconds ago, EC, and you wanted to put him on the no bet list, which pretty much means I'm going to put a second mortgage on Rory.
It's kind of a lock. I'm not going to lie.
It's rare that I become speechless on this show. We've just reached that stage where I just don't have a retort after that. Listen, 38% the no best bet list is hitting at this week or this year. Get ready. If Rory hits, I will let Matt and Josh put an X through that just for this week only, if that happens. All right, let's move on to FRLs. And this is where Sia Nejad and Jason Sobel the other week gave you guys 110 to 1. Actually, Sobel, I think your price was around 100 to 1. It doesn't matter. A lot of people made a lot of money, and I saw a bunch of slips from around the world. People sending, not only posting them in the SportsLine Discord and on X, but you guys made people a lot of money. Let's see what you have this week. We'll start with Patrick's, who he has. He is going to give us Russell Henley at 45 to 1, Tommy Fleetwood at 45 to 1, and Ryan Gerard at 66 to 1. Sobel, you have a 2-pack. Patrick's going with 3. You have 2. Let's hear who you got.
Yeah, so I don't want to go too far off the board with guys who really don't have a chance of cashing this. I want good players, but I want good players with decent value next to their names. Adam Scott's been rolling that putter really well. We're 22 years past him winning the Players Championship, and you would have thought back in 2004 that there's no chance Adam Scott at 45 is still playing this thing, but he's not only playing some good golf so far this year, and I can see him being inspired. The putter gets hot, and all of a sudden Adam Scott goes out there and shoots. What would it take? 64-ish, I think, is kind of the usual number on a Thursday morning. Sahith Theegala is another guy that I like him for a 4-round investment, but I probably like him a little more for a single-round investment. Shot the round of the day on Sunday. Look, doesn't always work out this way. Almost never works out this way, but post the round of the day on Sunday, you're feeling good, you have confidence. 4 days later, you go out on Thursday and go try to replicate that. So I like trying to chase Sahith's round of the day from Sunday at Bay Hill.
All right, fair enough. Sia, people tune into this show just to hear these picks from you. That's how electric you've been. Now, you and Sobel, obviously, as I talked about, hit the other week, but people absolutely love what you got. And now you have 4 picks this week.
So speaking of 4 picks, I had 4 picks last week as well. And I shared this in our group text. And this isn't really me patting myself on the back. I mean, it is a little bit, but it is instructive in terms of like maybe DFS. If you like my first round leaders, what I did last week is I put my four first round leaders in a lineup. I added Cam Young and Daniel Berger because I also liked them last week, just didn't like them as first round leaders. That lineup was a single bullet in an 8,300 person $5 contest. It was in first place for $10,000. It dropped to second place thanks to Ludwig hitting one of his very many 25-foot putts. It ended up winning $3,000, though, on a $5 entry. So I'm not saying that's going to happen again even this year. But I am saying that, like, I am trying to locate these guys with upside that are going out at the right time of day and all of those things. And last week, we didn't hit the first round leader, but all of those guys I recommended were near the top. Colin Morikawa, I mean, this is going to be a familiar theme. It's going to sound like last week. We hit Colin Morikawa in every way possible outside of the outright last week. I like him here quite a bit, like the course fit. I think the putter can be live for a round. I honestly think it could be live for 4 rounds potentially, but Colin Morikawa and Siwoo Kim, I just think fit this course so perfectly. You look at the recent approach play. You look at the weighted tee to green numbers. You look at the accuracy off the tee. These guys can light it up here, and they have the history to prove it. Victor Hovland is interesting because his approach play has been unbelievable. Not only at TPC Sawgrass, but also lately. Look at him off the tee. He's gained 4 out of 5 times here at TPC Sawgrass off the tee. The around the green play is probably why I don't really have him as an outright, but we saw him completely dialed with the putter last week as well. So I think it's a really good time to cash in on Victor Hovland, first round leader at 45 to 1. Bud Cauley is I'll admit, something I added like late in the game. And I was doing what people do, strokes gain narrative style. Who's got a birthday on March 12th, March 16th, whatever the case may be, sometime during the tournament. I found out that Nikolai Højgaard, by the way, his birthday is this Thursday. He goes out in the PM. He's 74-1. If you want to take that, you can. But Bud Cauley has a birthday on Monday, March 16th, right after the tournament. Now, yes, I am narrative shopping a little bit, but when you look a little deeper on Bud Cauley, you see that last year he really popped here, gained across every single strokes gain metric. And oh, by the way, we haven't seen Bud Cauley in a little while until last week in terms of him actually being good, where he was T18. And you look at him last year, he kind of like fumbled around a little bit at the beginning of the year, but then he got hot on the Florida swing, at the Players, at the Valspar, the tournament after that. So maybe Bud Cauley just warms up this time of year. It's 98-1. Do I actually think he's going to be there? No. Do I think he can be there? I'm willing to put a couple of bucks on it.
See it. Nobody's going to doubt you at 98-1. You just hit 110-1 the other week. Go ahead, Sobel.
Local guy from just down the road, loves Florida golf, so that helps. Secondly, Sia, you mentioned that this week it's Nikolai Højgaard's birthday. I was just wondering if you knew when Rasmus Højgaard's birthday is too.
Oh, that's so funny. I don't know why I wasn't even thinking of that. That's hilarious. All right. So yeah, both Højgaards.
Okay, good. All right.
Good call.
That's the narrative.
They say, Sobel, I think you said it the other week, like you can't bet one Højgaard without the other one.
I've been saying that for years. Yeah.
I like to do that. I'm betting Nikolai again. That's spoiler alert for a few segments down the road. Go ahead.
Okay. So here's the thing. I mean, this is just me being an idiot. Rasmus has an AM PM tee time. Nikolai does not. So we can play the birthday narrative for first round leader with Rasmus if you want to throw him in. I'm not looking at his number, but I assume it's in the 65 to 75 range. I don't want to add too many to my first round leader list. Rasmus, birthday on Thursday. Just saying.
On tomorrow's early edge, expect to see that as a CEO play.
Yeah.
One of the Højgaards, if not both. If Rasmus at that number, a nice number. So mine is end. I'm not as smart as you guys, clearly, but I'm going to go end of round one, top 20 finishes. No, I mean these are good numbers. I had good success with the top 10s. Got Wyndham Clark the other week. Got her up both over 4-1. So we're going to cut that in half with Akshay Bhatia and Minwoo Lee at plus 220 each. So Akshay has top 20s in the first round in his last 4 events, and he opened with a 67 here last year in the top 5. Minwoo Lee has 6 top 20s in his last 7 first rounds, and he's 2 for 3 in the top 5 after round 1 here. We're just asking for top 20s. Now, this does not include ties, so you have to chop the pot if your guys get, right towards the end of that top 20. But I think I could have gone more aggressive and put these guys in the top 10s. So at plus 220, I think we have some value on both these plays. You can use these just to kind of make some of your money back after you sprinkle all of these outrights. Go ahead, Sobel.
Here's a question for you guys and for everybody in the chat there that myself and Scott Harrington were going over in the post-game show after the end of the API on Sunday evening. If I give you one player from this week through the end of the season at the end of August to choose from, do you take Akshay Bhatia or Daniel Berger? I think it's a very fair question. I know a lot of people are jumping on Akshay. I thought Akshay did a little bit with smoke and mirrors. Look, that was the best wedge plus putting performance we've seen from a winner in the ShotLink era, and he still needed to go to a playoff to win that golf tournament. Look, we know that tee to green stats are more sustainable than short game stats. Berger's been better tee to green. I think I go Berger. I know everyone's into Akshay Bhatia right now, and he played so well and deserves that win, but I think I go Berger over the next, 5 months or so.
Interesting. See ya.
So I was on Berger last week. I liked him quite a bit in DFS. The problem with going with Berger over Akshay is, it was smoke and mirrors a little bit last week. I mean, honestly, Berger should have won that tournament. I just feel like I say that with conviction. Yeah. With that said, Akshay's been doing this from a ball striking and putting standpoint for a few tournaments now. So last week did look like smoke and mirrors, but I mean, the off the tee play and the approach play and the putter have been really clicking for him almost for the entirety of 2026. So that does give me pause, because if we're comparing the two from a pure upside standpoint, I think I would probably go with Akshay. If we're talking about, floors and we're talking about making cuts and things of that nature, maybe it's Berger, but I think they're both in really good position to have some high finishes for the rest of the year.
I will say I thought about adding Daniel Berger to the no bet list after blowing a lead like that, but you know what? That clutch putt on 18 on the 72nd hole, send it to a playoff, a 15-footer, shows, you know what? It wasn't that he played bad. It was that Akshay was clutch on the back nine. I'm not going to fault Berger for that. So he just narrowly avoids the no bet list. Sorry, guys.
If I can throw out real quick, Michael was just in the chat asking about finishing position parlays from last week. And I did look, last week was the first week for those of us in Florida who only have access to one sports book. It was the first week that sports book let us parlay finishing position plays. I'm always jealous of everybody that can do it around the country. We only have one book here. Michael said in the chat, hey, try it. It's working now. I went and did it. I parlayed 6 players for top 40s last week. Granted, a 72-man field, but I'm like, this is pretty safe. I got 7.5 to 1. They weren't all favorites, and it hit pretty easily. So thanks to Michael in the chat for I wouldn't have known that we could even do that. No one had told me, and I've tried to do it before. It hadn't worked. Last week was the first week. So, Michael, shout out to you. Thank you for that. And, yes, we did hit.
I've got a fun 41 to 1 finishing position parlay for later in the show. And for the record, I will note that, it's good that Hard Rock is doing that. We know DK, you can do that as well. DK this week, I think maybe for some of the bigger tournaments, they're including ties, not just for the top 20, top 10, top 5 market, but also for the T30, T40 market. So that finishing position parlay and the finishing positions that we're going to offer later on in the show, those are going to include ties in that top 30, 40 market as well.
And I have a 5-legger for the top 40 a little bit later in the show in honor of Jason Sobel. And just because of what you said, Sia, I did that. Coming up next, if Patrick McDonald was here, he would yell at me for one of my picks in the matchup section. Instead, we'll leave it to Sia and Jason to see what they think of one of my crazy plays after we hear from one of our sponsors.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam!
It is a basketball party.
Expect the unexpected.
You know, speaking of college basketball, in the chat is our buddy Jeff Hockman. Check it out. This guy is on fire. He's a great handicapper, loves to make college basketball picks, love being on Early Edge with him, Sia, with you guys. So obviously this is the greatest college basketball betting week of the year. And Sia, will my Arizona Wildcats, I wore this shirt on the show just for you. Just right now, I want you to call your shot. Will they be in the Final Four or no?
No, they'll find a way to lose in the Elite Eight. So they won't make the Final Four. I will say this, there's a Duke injury that is going to help Arizona potentially win it all. But no, Arizona's going to let you down like they always do, my friend.
Sobel, will my Arizona Wildcats be in the Final Four, yay or nay?
I am the wrong guy to ask college basketball questions. You certainly do not seem like you're on a heater right now, so I will pretty much bet against anything EC related. So I might just go outright win for Vermont State in the opening round against Arizona.
That's cruel. I expect that from Patrick, not you. By the way, Rick in the chat says bear down. That is the motto. That is the motto of the University of Arizona. Thank you, Rick. You are a great friend to the program. Jeff Stenberg, you are not a great friend of the program. It says Arizona is dog water. That is not appropriate talk. So we will move on back to golf here. All right, let's get to it. And I'm going to start with my first pick. Usually you guys go first. Guys, I know we like to make crazy bets on this show. You guys out there in the chat, you love to make crazy bets. There will be a hole-in-one on the 17th hole at TPC Sawgrass. And we're going to play that at 2-1. And I have a stat for you, okay? This is crazy, but there have been 6 in the last 7 years. And since 2016, excluding 2020, we've had a hole-in-one on 17 at least every other tournament. And there were none in 2025. So based on that, I mean, we're getting 360 tries of getting a hole-in-one, and I think we're going to get one. So I'm playing that at 2-1. Sia, Sobel, we'll start with you. What do you think?
A little insight here. There are probably 5,000 people up on that hill by 17 every single day, all day, with some corporate boxes, both behind and behind the tee box and behind the green. Look, the tour would like nothing more than for someone to make a hole-in-one at some point. You can't put the ball in the hole for them, but even if it's a little like we could put the hole here, or we could put it a foot closer here where it's in more of a little bit of a funnel and has a chance of going in. They want to see one. It makes for great highlight reels. It makes for great Sports Center top 10 plays and everything else. It behooves the tour to have a hole-in-one on the signature hole of their flagship event. So I like that bet. I also don't like betting no against hole-in-ones because you're sitting there from Thursday morning rooting for nobody to make a hole-in-one. That's no fun for 4 days.
Our guy Propstars always says it's under until it's over. It's what he's taught me in the past. That's why every time I go on the show with him, I always have to bet under. See ya. But I mean, it's a no until it's a yes. So I understand those who want to fade that, but we're going to give it a shot at 2-1. But I am going to let you start in this from here. You have a round 1 3-ball, including a guy that's trying out a lot of drivers on the range right now. How do we feel about Scotty?
So, okay, I'll do the Colin one first, but I'm not going to go too far into it because I explained this one on the early edge this morning. You all know I've been betting Colin Morikawa. That train is not going to be slowing down until I start missing some bets, which certainly could happen this week. But I really like Colin Morikawa's form over Russell Henley. Both great course fits. But Russell Henley, if you hadn't noticed, the approach play has been a little bit off. I'm sure he can rebound here, but I just love the state of Colin Morikawa's game over Russell Henley right now. I think this should probably be in the -130 range, the way Colin Morikawa is striking it. And I'll take the -122. This Scotty Scheffler one is interesting. I'm trying to come up with the tournament matchup. I didn't love any tournament matchups. Okay, so I'm laboring over it. And then I said, okay, well, I've got a round 1 matchup. Maybe I'll have 2 round 1 plays on the show since those are generally pretty successful for me. I couldn't find a head-to-head. And then I looked at the Scotty Scheffler one and I said, oh, this is a head-to-head. It's a 3-ball that includes Justin Thomas. And let's just be really honest about Justin Thomas. Yeah, he was great here last year. He had a really nice round. He's a great golfer, but he's coming back from an injury and he's coming to a place that just does not suit his game. And oh, by the way, lost 11 strokes ball striking last week. Wasn't very good with the putter either. I just don't think he is in play here when you're talking about the caliber of golfer of Scotty Scheffler and Tommy Fleetwood. So I'm boxing him out. And the way I see this, it's a Scotty Scheffler head-to-head matchup against Tommy Fleetwood. Now, what should that line be? -190? -175, -210. I'm not 100% sure. I could have probably looked into that. But the point is, it's certainly not going to be -115. So you can make the argument that, hey, you're boxing Justin Thomas out and you probably shouldn't be completely doing that. That's what I've decided to do here. I think the analysis here is Scotty Scheffler versus Tommy Fleetwood. And if it's -115, I'm getting a pretty good deal. So I think Scotty Scheffler is going to rebound just fine. The bad Scotty Scheffler days can still beat Tommy Fleetwood, especially considering Tommy Fleetwood had a bad week last week. Scotty Scheffler -115 in the round 1 3-ball. Absolutely love it.
I mean, I like Tommy Fleetwood this week, as I'll talk about later in the show, but that is a really good number, Sia. I mean, and that's great logic. You just throw Justin Thomas and his +14 out from last week. So I'm with you. And yeah, go ahead, Sobel. Yeah.
Sorry, a little note on Scotty too. Scotty said during his press conference earlier today that his ball striking, his iron play for the first 3 rounds last week was it was just okay. He said he hit it in round 4 as well as he has all year. Now, he was asked this question about stats and how much do you look at the stats and what do they mean to you? And he actually lost strokes on approach last week for the first time in I think 3 or 4 years. That said, Scotty pointed out something really interesting, and he's not wrong about this at all. It's not an excuse, but he said his ball on the par 3 14th hole stayed up in a tree, never came down. Well, you're going to lose a bunch of strokes on your approach shot if the ball stays in a tree. And then on 18, he said, big gust of wind. I hit a really good shot. Wind blew as soon as that ball got in the air and it went in the water. Look, that's going to change your strokes gained approach on a pretty big differential there. So, yeah, I get it. They're stats and it happens to everybody. And if we're going to start looking at every single shot and say if and but, then we can go through that all day. But Scotty, I thought, broke it down pretty well that on 16 holes, he hit pretty good approach shots. And on 2 of them, he really got kind of screwed, and he got screwed to the point where the stats are going to look really bad.
Fade Scotty at your own risk this week, though. I believe all of us are. We'll talk later about that in the program. But Sobel, you have a couple of picks at -105 here, and I really, really like this first one. Sepp Straka had a great run on Saturday, gave what the definition of a cheap thrill. That was Sepp Straka. I got him at 66-1 to finish behind Daniel Berger heading into round 3. Boy, I was feeling really good about that number when it dropped to like 5-1 on Saturday night. He didn't get it done with a bad back 9 on Sunday. You like him at -105 over Batia for the first for the tournament.
Sepp Straka is one of those guys who's criminally underrated. I think we just look at him as like pretty good second, third tier player. He's a top 10 player in the official World Golf Ranking now. We can certainly debate whether the official World Golf Ranking ranks players the way it should. That said, Sep's been very good for a long time, and he's been very good on this golf course. It's weird. He's a big dude, so I think people look at him and go, man, that guy hits it a long way. He actually just hits a lot of fairways. He doesn't hit it that far. Over Akshay Bhatia this week, again, I'm going back to the fact that Akshay's tee to green game got better as the week progressed. In the first round, he was dead last off the tee and first with the putter, and everything sort of the differential closed and narrowed a little bit as the week continued, and he wasn't bad on Sunday in the win, especially on the back nine. All of that said, look, a lot of emotion of winning, a lot of mental energy expended. I will go with Sepp Straka as an underdog in that matchup on a golf course where I believe he has 3 top 20s in his last 4 starts. And Harris English, somewhere, I hope it's somebody in our chat, not for their sake, but I just hope we can find this person. Somewhere somebody has bet Harris English top 20 every single tournament he's played this year. Because you know why? He's finished between 22nd and 28th every single time. Does not have top 20 yet this season, but he's played really good, solid, high-level floor golf. And so I'm going to stick with Harris English for a couple of reasons. First of all, like I said, he's playing well. Secondly, Kurt Kitayama has a decent record here. I think he was top 10 a few years ago, but that doesn't do a whole lot for me. And thirdly, you don't think Harris English is going to grind if he gets to, let's say, the 15th tee on Sunday afternoon, looks up at one of those big scoreboards and sees he's in a share of 23rd place. Guess what? Other guys are like, you know what? Kind of doesn't matter. Let's just get this thing in the house. Maybe we make a birdie. Let's not make any mistakes. Harris English is like, I'm finishing in the top 20. He's a little motivated right now to go just get one notch better than he's been over his last 6 starts. So I like Harris English for a bunch of reasons in this matchup over Kitayama.
So I can't argue with that. Makes sense. So Sia, you know I love to make these kind of bets. You and I with the top Canadian, I hit that last week. Corey Connors plus 150. There's 3 guys from South America in this week's event: Nico Echeverria, Emiliano Grillo, and Johnny Vegas. This was rough. It was also like these guys have pretty bad course form in recent years. Nico's 0 for 3 and making the cut here. Vegas 7 for 11, Grillo 5 for 9, but the other 2 not really great finishes. But I'm going to take Echeverria at plus 112 for top South American. He has the best current form by far and the best historical putting splits on Bermuda. It's all I needed to see to break the tie of guys that probably could all miss the cut. I know some people like Nico. It's funny, in our group text that we have among the show, Patrick on Thursday texted Nico at 250 to 1 when he got off to a great start on the front 9, and he proceeded to get back 5 on the back 9, I believe. So, Patrick, if you had Nico last week, you can blame Patrick McDonald for why he went south, we'll just say. Just want to point that out. All right, let's go to finishing position, see what you guys have. Let's start with Patrick. He has Ryan Gerard for a top 20 at plus 250. That's a great number considering how good Gerard has been this season. Sia, you have a couple of top 30s with a couple players who played really, really well last week and have played well this season. Let's hear it.
These are including ties, so I want to make that very clear. Yep. Both of these guys, by the way, I treat these very conservatively. If you want to change it up and you want to do top 20, you're more than welcome to, or even a top 10, maybe in Minwoo Lee's case in particular. But yeah, Daniel Berger has been playing really well. It's part of the reason I was on him last week, particularly in DFS. The ball striking is there. You know, the putter certainly hasn't really been there this year, but it's coming around a little bit. He's very comfortable out here, I think, in really all the Florida courses. So I think top 30 at plus 110 is a very comfy number. Minwoo Lee. So I think we need to start addressing that some of these golfers are just different now than they were before. Minwoo Lee, top 30 at even money. Again, you could be a little bit more risk tolerant here and take a top 20 or a top 10, but he's really reining it in with the off the tee play. Like the accuracy happens to be there. We know he's a long hitter, but the accuracy is there. The approach play has not been bad, which usually is really bad. And we know he can get, with the short game, he can really get there. So I think Minwoo Lee is a guy that is going to continue to scare leaderboards on Sunday. Wouldn't shock me at all if he is contending this week. I'm taking a conservative approach in terms of the top 30 at even money. But again, you could top 20, top 10 this with Minwoo Lee. He's very much in play. The betting market has respected him for like a good month now. And on the front end of it, I was kind of like, I don't really know what the sharp money is doing here. I get it now. Minwoo Lee is legit.
Yeah, I'm betting him later. Spoiler alert. Okay, Sobel, you have some aggressive numbers here with a top 10 and a top 20. I kind of like them both.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Minwoo Lee in just a few minutes as well. Spoiler alert there. Russell Henley is a guy that I don't bet very often. So if I've got Russell Henley on the card, you know that I really like him. And look, this is a high-level floor play on a guy that I think fits what the golf course is doing right now, which from everything I've heard from everybody on site, you got to keep it in the fairway. You've got to hit greens. You can't hit it in this rough. You're just going to be hacking it out. I'm going to take a guy that hits more fairways than just about anybody in Russell Henley, and he showed he can play some good golf on this course as well. And then Aaron Rai fits exactly the same profile as Henley does, a guy that hits fairways, hits greens, doesn't make too many mistakes, played well here a year ago, lives in the Ponte Vedra Beach area, so he gets to see, if not this specific golf course, courses like it. And so Aaron Rai is a guy that I like as well for a guy that I think maybe some people aren't talking about as much. We're going to talk about in just a few minutes some guys that everybody is on this week, or at least a lot of people are on this week. Aaron Rai is maybe a guy that, if you're playing DFS, if you're looking for a guy that has a little bit bigger number next to his name, he might be the one to look at.
So can't argue with any of those, and you can't argue with Jacob Bridgman for a top 20. Now I know he finished 50th here last year. This is Sia's guy. He is 6 for 6 inside the top 20 this season with ties at plus 200. I'm going to keep playing it until it doesn't hit. Nikolai Højgaard, as Sia mentioned, it's his birthday on Thursday. He's top 20 this season in strokes gained, tee to green, off the tee, approach, around the green, and 5th overall in strokes gained. All those numbers give me a top 30 at plus 138. He is T24 or better in all 4 events this season. The record at TPC Sawgrass isn't amazing, 2 missed cuts, but that top 30 number at plus 138, considering he's done it all season. Let's ride the current form, as Jason Sobel told us earlier in the show. Speaking of a guy that you got to ride, I guess it's history here. Tom Hoge, 7 for 7, 5 top 40s in that time, including 2 T3 finishes in the last 3 years. Now, he has 3 top 40s and 3 missed cuts in 7 events this season, so the current form isn't great, but I'll tell you what, he's one of the best iron players on tour, and you're getting him top 40 with ties at 2-1. That's good enough for me. I will be on board Tom Hoge at this number, top 40 at plus 200. Coming up next, producer Josh is going to join us, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about the no bet list after we hear from one of our sponsors.
You need a hug?
You need a fist?
Crutch.
Crutch, you need anything.
I do have one question.
We didn't mean right now.
All right, here we are. Well, let's bring on the top, the no bet list. I don't know what to call it, top fade list. Yeah, there we go. Well, it's got another X in it, and there's not much to say. We've got 13 names on there, I believe, and 3 of them have already been crossed off. And last year, I just want to say I did really good on this list until like August, and then Cam Young won and Tommy Fleetwood won. This year, gotten off to a rough start. I think we're going to be okay this week. Sia, do you feel like I'm going to be in danger with any name on this list this week?
Well, I have an outright that is on this list, but to be fair, it's not the outright I have more like it's my least favorite of the outrights. Okay. Let's put it that way.
Sobel, you just gave out Russell Henley. Is there anyone on here that you would that I should be concerned about?
Yeah, I never like Henley to win outright. I just like him as a high-level floor play. Hideki can win this golf tournament.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Hideki sort of owed one here. Remember, he had the opening round lead 6 years ago when COVID happened, and they packed it all in and left Sawgrass the next day.
That was kind of like my betting luck summed up in like a lifetime, based on that first round. I had the right pick there with Hideki to win the tournament. He shoots a 9 under 63 in the first round, and the tournament ends, and I get nothing. And we didn't see golf for like 4 months.
Well,
3 months.
We saw golf 2 months later on the Outlaw Tour, where we were able to bet Yannick Paul and Jeremy Paul and KK Limbasut and many others. Even JJ Spawn jumped on that tour for a few tournaments.
Had a ton of KK Limbasut. Colt Knost gave me so much grief at one point. He was playing in one of those, and I didn't even pick him that week.
I bet JJ Spawn when he ducked in there and he missed the cut.
Yeah. Those were in Arizona, right? Those were in my neck of the woods, I think. Yeah.
Nicolo Galletti. Yeah. I mean, they were There's some names.
Had I known what was going on, I would have gone out and would have given me something to see in person. All right, let's bring on producer Josh. Let's see what we have. Outright time. We're going to add him. There he is. Josh, before we move on to outrights, do you have anything to say about the no bet list meeting its demise yet again?
There are many who aspire to be as effective picking outright winners as the no bet list. It is good stuff. I will say it's hard to look at a list that has Matt Fitzpatrick, Russell Henley, and Hideki on it and be confident you're going to get out of this week. You probably will, but those are three names that on Sunday, if they're holding a trophy, I wouldn't be totally surprised.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Let's bring on the outrights and let's see what the guys have. I actually haven't cheated, so I don't know what anybody has on this list. We will start with Patrick McDonald, who is going with a player on this no bet list. Russell Henley at 30-1, Maverick McNeely at 60-1, and Ryan Gerard at 70-1. Now, here's the thing. Sobel, we're going to start with you here because all three of you have the same guy on your list, and he has been steamed down so much, in my opinion, to an unbettable number, and that's Colin Morikawa at less than 21-1. What do you say, Sobel?
I like everything about Colin Morikawa this week, but one thing. I'll start with what I like. I like the fact that he's back to playing elite level golf with his irons. The approach play has been fantastic, back to where he was when he was winning major championships. He's now added a putter that, he might not be putting it like Jacob Bridgman, but he's still putting better than field average over his last three starts. He's putting for a guy that hits it as well as he is. His putter is good enough to win on any given week. Here's the one thing that I don't like about Colin Morikawa, and it's exactly what you said, EC. Everybody is on Colin Morikawa this week. The price is getting shorter. I actually got him, I think, at a bigger price than this before the week even started because Players' Championship odds were out earlier. That said, look, you can't go anywhere. You can't go on social media. You can't turn on a show like ours without people picking Colin Morikawa to win. I get it. I understand it. I like him the best too. But I don't know. It's one of those deals where anytime everyone zigs in one direction, you probably should zag the other way, but I'm zigging with everybody else this week. And I don't know. By the way, it begs the question, and I will ask you guys this. Colin Morikawa is not the best golfer in the world. We know that. Who is playing the best golf in the world right now? Is it Colin Morikawa?
John Rahm.
No, stop.
Wait, are you saying from like a strokes gain standpoint?
I'm saying less from a statistical standpoint. I mean, I guess we can look at strokes gain total and just go, okay, here are the best players this year. I think Rory's first and Jake Knapp is second so far this year. And I don't think strokes gain total is a bad place to start when you're doing your research this week. I just think over the last three starts, and granted, these things are very fluid, I think Colin Morikawa might be playing better golf than anyone. Now, 5 days from now, that's going to change, and somebody else is going to be playing better golf, and we're going to be talking all about the next guy who's playing best in the world. But I think as of right this very second, in a very small sample size over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think it might be Morikawa.
Sobel, I stayed up until 1 a.m. the other day to watch Live Hong Kong. And I, for some inexplicable reason, I don't know why. I must have been. It really was sicko behavior. I was really sweating that Lucas Herbert top 10 that I had finished T8. Nonetheless, Rahm 2-2-1 in 3. I mean, this is a guy that right now I'm looking at betting his Masters number at 16-1. I'm like, he's playing as well as any. I mean, say what you want.
I don't dislike that. Look, when you said Rahm is playing better than everyone, I kind of said, well, come on, he's not playing anybody. Rahm could come to my club and beat me and my buddies in a 4-ball, and like, yeah, he's going to win, but he's not playing anyone. That said, I don't hate Jon Rahm to win the Masters at all this year. I kind of like it. We're a month away. We're starting to talk about that a little bit. I don't think that's a bad play whatsoever, but the problem with Liv is that I look at these players and I'm not really sure how to assess their games because who is Jon Rahm beating right now? There's not a whole lot of other players who are playing real well over there. By the way, should I give my other 2 picks?
Yeah, go ahead.
Victor Hovland, Minwoo Lee. CA talked about Minwoo a few minutes ago. I have seen a different Minwoo Lee this year. This is a guy who he has fun on social media and everyone wears chef hats and let him cook and he's having a good time. And look, there's nothing wrong with any of that. He looks like a more serious, more mature player now. He's 27 years old. He had the invitation, the offer to play Live in the offseason and said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying with the PGA Tour. Ever since then, he's looked like a guy who's intent on going out and winning golf tournaments and playing better golf. So I like a more mature Minwoo Lee to play well here again. You remember he was in the final pairing alongside Scotty Scheffler just a couple of years ago.
Can't argue with that at all. Now, Sia, you also, it's a Colin Morikawa week for you. Explain your 3 picks.
A couple things I want to point out here, just some notes I wrote down that with respect to the betting market, and I'll be short with my outrights because there's a lot of like repeat stuff here. Minwoo Lee, just so everybody knows, from a tournament matchup standpoint, is a pretty big favorite over Chris Gotterup. We're talking tournament matchups. And I'm just trying to set the table. He's minus 138 in one place. He's minus 150 in another place. So in terms of the respect that Minwoo Lee is getting, I mean, we all know Chris Gotterup is playing really good golf. I don't think anybody would expect Minwoo Lee to be a minus 150 or even a minus 138 necessarily against Chris Gotterup. Other things I noticed, Siwoo Kim was a huge favorite in a tournament matchup, minus 163 over Cam Young. So that's where I'm going to go. Siwoo Kim's 24-1. I'll mention that if you watch the early edge Monday morning, I've started to give out outrights on the early edge and pretty much hours. And I'm not saying it's related to our show, but I'm giving them out Monday morning because I know the number is going to get smashed. It's happened for about 3 weeks in a row now. I've also put it in the SportsLine Discord. Sometimes I'm tweeting them out. Colin Morikawa was 25-1 on Monday. It's a much better number than basically 20-1 here. It was obviously longer prior to Monday. Jason probably got it at around 27, 30-1. I really like Colin, really like Siwoo. Those are 2 of my outrights. The outright that I think a lot of people will kind of question is Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm going to go right back to him. I'm actually taking him in the without Scotty Scheffler market because I still like the number at 35-1. So that's the only one I'm actually taking in the without Scotty Scheffler market. But Matt Fitzpatrick, he's come into this year with just being an awesome ball striker. And somehow last week, it just didn't work out for him, but the putter was there. And we know 2 weeks ago or 2 tournaments ago, the putter wasn't there for him. So I think Matt Fitzpatrick can still put it together. I think the number is drifting long enough for me to consider it.
Josh, let's see who you've got on the screen. Do tell us about not only Morikawa, but Jake Knapp, a guy that a few people in the chat have asked about, and then Berger in the without market.
Yeah, I'll actually... Listen, I am nowhere near as well vetted on what is value and what is not value compared to Jason and Sia. But the maybe the left turn I'd take with Morikawa is, when was the last time in a field with Scotty Scheffler that you could seriously say you think the guy that's 20, 21, 22-1 to win the tournament is actually the most confident and believes he can win this tournament more than anybody? I think you can make that argument for Colin right now on Tuesday of the Players. And it feels like it's been a really long time since that's been the case. And you're kind of just talking yourself into other people because you don't really want to bet Scotty at 3.5-1. So that's kind of fun because I do think Colin is the guy with the most confidence in the world right now. Obviously, Rory's strokes gain numbers so far are really good, but the back will be in his mind, whether he, admits it or not. And I don't know, Scotty talking about how a shot that ends up in the tree isn't actually as bad as it makes it out to be. That's not great. I mean, you still hit it towards the tree. He hadn't done a whole lot of that the last 3 years. So yeah, I mean, Colin, his numbers over the last 16 rounds are just preposterous in this field. I mean, it really is gross. He's like top 3 in everything, and the things he's not top 3 in, he's top 10 in, and like 5 of those guys are playing in Gen Pop PGA Tour events. So he's just playing that good and that confident, and I'm excited to root for him. As for Knapp, 2026 T11, T5, 8th, T8, and 6th. Those are Jake Knapp's finishes in 2026. The WD, I'm not that worried about. Even if it was a back thing and not an illness thing, it kind of feels like one of those, if it was a major or if it was a playoff game, he would have played, but he felt a little something and said, let's get 4 days off. 2 guys, total strokes gain above 2 on the PGA Tour so far this season. One is Rory McIlroy, the other is Jake Knapp. At 50-1, what's Rory this week? Like 9-1, something like that. So I'm taking him. And then you guys talked about Berger a little bit earlier. I don't think there's anything Daniel Berger should take negatively from last week. It took a back 931 to beat him. He made a clutch putt on 18 to force a playoff, and he shot 2 under on Sunday at Bay Hill, and it wasn't enough. Like, if you handed him that on the first tee, he probably takes it. And he hasn't finished outside of the top 20 in this event since 2019. So 38-1 without all of those guys down there at the bottom is something I'm into.
Gentlemen, please raise your hand if you are sweating the Missouri State FIU over so you can get one of your golfers parlayed in this week.
No, I did have a live play on a bet that I lost. It was who was Pittsburgh playing again earlier?
Stanford.
I had a live play on
Yuck.
Stanford when they were down like 6 on the money line, and the way that game ended on that last second layup was pretty bad.
We're letting a 5'10" guy get his own rebound.
After they already out hustled them for like 3 loose balls on the same possession. That was tough.
We're sweating Tommy Fleetwood at 25-1, 27-1, whatever it is, with the I know because he burned you last week in OAD, Josh.
Why is Tommy Fleetwood at 25-1 bettable and Colin Morikawa at 21-1 not bettable?
Because Tommy Fleetwood had one bad week last week. Otherwise, he's been rock solid.
And Colin Morikawa might be the best player in the world right now.
You heard it here first.
Here's the thing. I would never have said this last year, but I think Tommy Fleetwood is ready to win a major caliber event, whether now or the summer. I know he won the Tour Championship, but that's only 30 golfers. In 8 trips here, he's gained more than 40 shots combined tee to green. He's been positive tee to green in 7 of 8 events. Elite ball striker, which is what you need to win at TPC Sawgrass. And I'm just throwing out last week at the API. It just was a mess. I'm tossing it. Tommy's going to get back. He's going to give us a cheap thrill. And spoiler alert, he's my OAD guy. Sorry, Josh. He's going to make amends for you last week, helping me move up the leaderboard. Go ahead.
Tommy showed up this week wearing his son's Players Championship hat to the Players Championship.
Great. Love it. Love it even more.
Come on.
Love it even more.
That's like the lead singer of a band, like showing up wearing his own band's t-shirt on stage. Like, what are you doing?
Sounds good to me. I'm in.
If Tommy Fleetwood wins this golf tournament, you might never hear from me again. If Tommy Fleetwood wins this golf tournament.
So unfortunately, this is Josh's last appearance on the show. Josh, here's how we're going to make more money this week. We're not only going to bet Tommy Fleetwood to win, because we're fading Scotty. I think Scotty's going to have a great week. Don't get me wrong. Tommy's going to win. And then we have the without Scheffler, McIlroy, Schauffele, Fleetwood market on DK. You also bet Berger in that. I'm getting Minwoo Lee at 31-1 in that market. You guys have talked enough about Minwoo that I don't need to add anymore. How about Sepp Straka? I'm going back to it in that same market at 41-1. He's a ball striking machine. He gained nearly 6 shots ball striking here each of the last 2 years, and he has 2 top 20s in that time. And 2 of his 4 career wins are on Bermuda, which is what we have here at TPC Sawgrass. So I'm going to take a shot. All right.
Hang on.
Okay.
I got issues.
Okay.
Why is that market the winner without Scheffler, McIlroy, Schauffele, and Fleetwood, but not without the guy who's playing better golf than all of those guys and has a shorter number than 2 of them?
It's really interesting. It's funny. You aren't the first person that brought that up to me today.
Well, it's because the odds came out, or I'm assuming because the odds came out early. And so now Colin, who was like in the low 30s, is now moved up to like he's been bet down to 20.
Yeah, I was surprised with that, Sobel. Okay. Sia, what do you think of Ludwig Oberg? We haven't really talked about him here. Somebody asked about him in the chat. I can't remember who it was, but what do we think? Are we betting him or no?
I mean, I think you're welcome to bet him. I love his upside. I believe if I remember correctly, I can check in a second, but I think he was pretty good here last year. He's starting to like really round into form, like we've seen it over the last couple of tournaments. I think he's a great upside play, which means he can absolutely win this tournament. So I'm down with him. I think he's a pretty good DFS play as well. It's just I went with guys who I trusted a little bit more with the ball striking.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to long shots. Let's see what we have here. I was going to throw my guy Nikolai Højgaard in here, but I did not. It's time for some parlays. Patrick's going with a miss the cut parlay of Brooks Koepka, Sam Burns, Ben Griffin, and of course Patrick Cantlay to miss the cut. By the way, he is on the no bet list as well. I don't know if I saw him on there, but he is a staple in the no bet list that we will not forget. So those 4 to miss the cut: Koepka, Burns, Griffin, and Cantlay at 40 plus 41. 52. Sobel, you are giving out a really long shot, one where you would almost need a tax form, not quite, in Brian Harman.
Look, I don't think Brian Harman's going to win this golf tournament. I was just looking all the way down the list for like somebody that's got some win equity with a really big number next to his name. And I'm going down there. I'm like, Harman has not played great golf here or great golf this year, but he's played pretty well at the Players Championship over the years at 230 to 1. I'll take a chance on Brian Harman. Why not? It's probably not a big play for me whatsoever, but if we're talking long shots, I'm going to throw him out there for a long shot. And then my top 40 parlay, and this goes back to what I said last week. Again, shout out to Michael in the chat who informed me that Hard Rock in Florida, the only game in town, is now doing finishing position parlay bets because they hadn't done them before last week. And so I'll throw another 6-man top 40 out there: Fowler, Inglis, Straka, Gerard, Thigala, and Aaron Rye.
Love it. Okay, see ya. I'll have you start with your outright here. I think this is a really interesting name and a guy that I actually considered to do something with in bets this week in Hao Tong Lee.
Yeah, and quick correction, Ludwig, he had a miscut last year at the Players. It was the year before that I think he was T8. Also, 2 tournaments in a row, gaining across all strokes gain metrics, over 8 strokes ball striking last week at the API. Yeah, Hao Tong Lee, listen, let's consider the number here. This is the long shot section. Hao Tong Lee in the without Scheffler, McIlroy, Schauffele, Fleetwood market is still 115 to 1. No experience at TPC Sawgrass, but taking the experience part away, Hao Tong Lee's a really good ball striker and he can pop with the putter. I think he has tremendous upside. Now, can he miss the cut? Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps the floor is pretty low here, but I actually think the ceiling is pretty high. And if I'm getting him at over 100 to 1 in a market where he can be that splash guy that everybody's surprised about, and he can finish third behind, Scheffler and Xander, for example, I actually think that's kind of realistic. So it's a shot in the dark. It's 115 to 1 in this without market, but I think Hao Tong Lee's a very good golfer, and I'm willing to say that I think he's actually a pretty good course fit here as well. The parlay is a top 30, top 40 parlay. Like I like to do, it's 41 to 1 with a boost that a lot of books are offering. You can get it to about 50 to 1. 3 top 30s: Colin Morikawa, Siwoo Kim, Matt Fitzpatrick. Those are my 3 outrights, if you recall. And that's a very conservative way to play it, by the way. It's just top 30. You can top 10, top 20 that if you want, and take away a couple of these guys that I have in the top 40 market, which are Daniel Berger, Ryo Hisetsune, who's playing really well, and I think he's a pretty good course fit. And we already talked about Min-Woo Lee. So Min-Woo, Hisetsune, Berger, top 40, Morikawa, Siwoo Kim, Fitzpatrick, top 30, 41 to 1.
All right, I'm going to go with a parlay of 5 players that have been relatively successful in recent years at TPC Sawgrass: Sepp Straka, Aaron Rye, Ryan Fox, Denny McCarthy, and Taylor Moore, all top 40s at a little over 60 to 1. And then just because I brought it up earlier, I had to do a live parlay playing at Sentosa Golf Course in Singapore. We have John Rahm, top 5. We have Lucas Herbert, who's been in the top 10 every week. Dustin Johnson, been in the top 10 here the last 2 or a couple times here in the last 3 years, and Cam Smith, who's had some success here at Sentosa, top 10. So we've got Rahm top 5, Herbert, Johnson, and Smith top 10, all including ties at plus 34.37. For a tenth of a unit, you can do worse than throwing a parlay on the board. Now, before we take the screen off, Josh, come to you. If I were to say pick one of these bets that you liked the most on this screen, what would it be?
I kind of like the miss the cut parlay. Brooks is the worst player in the field at 17, I think.
Really?
I think I saw a story about that. Yeah, he said that hole has my number. So he could play solid 34 holes and be 4 over on 17 and miss the cut. That's possible. Patrick Cantlay, I couldn't move the needle less. And those other 2 guys, I don't know, 41 to 1 for those. I kind of like that.
That's not bad. That's I agree. That's pretty solid. I'm giving it a second look.
All right.
I also have some long shots. I've heard that they're.
Oh, do you? Go ahead. Yeah. That's right. That's right. All right. Let's see. Go ahead. My bad. I missed that. Yeah. I love this part. I love this.
First round leader. It's 76 to 1, not the longest first round leader of all time, but I wasn't here for the first round leader, so I'm getting it in here. Ricky Castillo is if you were gonna hang a painting of a first round leader. Ricky Castillo has the stat profile for it. Good form. Won last week in Puerto Rico. He's 6th on tour in birdie or better percentage. He's 8th in first round scoring. He has not shot in the 70s on Thursday yet this season. In 20 rounds on tour this season, 13 of them are 68 or better. You could talk me into a long shot, 110-1 to win this tournament, but he won last week. He's probably going to run out of gas, but it's not going to be on Thursday. He lives in Jacksonville. He probably slept in his own bed a couple times this week, if not all week. I'm down 76-1 first round leader, and his tee time is like 8:45 on Thursday morning, something like that. So,
hey, Josh, just to throw in real quick, this is something that C and I were going back and forth on a text message last night about. If you're playing DFS this week, go look at Ricky Castillo and then see all the other guys you can fit into a lineup. He's sitting there at 6,200. You can have 5 superstars in a lineup.
And he's like 20th in the field in strokes gained total over the last 36 rounds.
Also, Jason, your guy Sudarshan Yalamaraju is a flat 6K, and my guy Marty Dow, or I should say Marty Doe, is a flat 6K as well if you want to dabble in those waters. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
So that's my first round leader play. My outright long shot, a little bit what Jason was saying with, a big name with winning pedigree that's got a big number next to him. I went with a guy in Jason Day who has won this golf tournament before, and it was only a few weeks ago after the way he started this season that we were like, really nice Jason Day 2026 coming. I think he was a pretty popular Amex pick, if I'm remembering correctly.
Tory.
And and then was it Tory as well? I just think the form is there somewhere, kind of bubbling under the surface. The iron play started off nicely, hasn't been great the last couple of weeks, but we've gotten flashes in this calendar year, and it's only the first week of March, and good vibes here. He has a win, a couple other top 8 finishes, so that's my big name showing some flashes recently, even if it's not in the immediate past, with a pretty big number next to his name. And then, for those of you who don't know, I'm also the producer of the Island College Basketball Podcast. It's March. Wanted to get some conference tournament action in here. I went with Virginia to win the ACC tournament. I think it's I like it 6.5 to 1 or something on its own. Duke is way better than Virginia, but Duke has injuries. Caleb Foster, Pat Ngongba. I don't really want to touch Duke. If they lost, they might just lose to Virginia in the ACC championship game, but they also might lose early and just be like, let's just reset. I wouldn't be totally surprised by that. And I wanted to pair that with somebody who went to UVA, so I went with Denny McCarthy top 10, which on its own is like 12 to 1. Denny is not playing well. Don't bet Denny any like real way. But what he does here is make cuts. He's 6 for 6 making cuts at this tournament. And, I just kind of think Denny is a dog. I've heard that the rough is tall, the greens are quick. Like he could kind of slap it around, have a hot putting week and, on a difficult TPC sawgrass potentially, sneak inside the top 10. Again, this is fun, 127 to 1. I'm not sprinting to bet Denny anywhere else, but these two things together, 127 to 1 is a fun way to spend the next, 5 days.
All right, Sia, I'm going to ask you permission. Now, Josh is the producer of the show, so obviously we're allowed to do cross-sport parlays, but in the future, for the long shot section, will you allow me to do cross-sport parlays?
I actually love this idea. And I know, because I feel like Patrick's done it before as well. With like a Steelers future or something that was never going to win. No. But I especially with March Madness and with, baseball futures and whatever, baseball games, we've had, who was it? It's somebody in the chat that's always doing the home run parlay with one of our outright winners. Yeah, I grant you permission for that. I want to do it myself.
All right. So next week, here's the challenge to you guys and you guys in the chat. I want the best parlay with a Valspar outright or a Valspar finishing position and something in March Madness.
Yeah.
Some March Madness future, whatever it is. Sobel, you two, I know you're not a basketball guy per se. Give us something. You can just pick U of A to win it all. It's super easy. Nonetheless, Valspar, I want you guys in the chat next week as well. We'll see our best. We'll put it on the show. And Mitchell Smith, yes, I think somebody can beat Michigan in the Big Ten tourney. They have a tough draw. I actually like Michigan State on the other side of the bracket at 7-1. I like Josh's thinking there. Other side of the bracket in the ACC, or Virginia's on Duke's side of the bracket. Nonetheless, 7-1 team in the Big Ten tourney, 7-1 team in the ACC tourney. There's your parlay right there. Okay, let's move on. I'm trying to delay, guys, because OAD has been rough here. See ya, 65th. Josh, 115th. Patrick, 293rd. Me, 482nd. You guys are going to be editing my dating profile before long. And Sobel, 599th. Yikes. All right. Danny S., congrats. 4.5 million. I am jealous. You're killing it. Mike in second. J-Mac in third. Collins in fourth. We got, if anybody's watching that's doing well, let us know in the chat. All right. Sia, we're going to start with you. Who you got?
This is an uncomfortable pick for me. I'm trying to separate the name from what I'm seeing in terms of the course fit and the course history and things of that nature. I wish I still had Colin. I made money off Colin last week. I really wish I still had Colin and that I'd maybe used somebody else last week. But believe it or not, I'm going to go with Siwoo Kim. I just absolutely love how he's striking the ball. I know he can gain with the putter at TPC Sawgrass. This is a big event, and I'd rather not use a Siwoo Kim, but I'm also trying to play like not scared. I'm trying to play what my eyes are telling me and what the data is telling me, as opposed to just the name recognition and name value. So given that I've already used Rory, and I wouldn't use him anyway, I've already used Colin. I don't want to use Scotty yet because I'm really not sure if he is fully in form. When I look at the rest of the names, Siwoo Kim is the one that jumps out to me over anybody else. So that's who I'm going with.
All right, Josh, you're going with everybody's flavor of the week. You and Sobel, Colin Morikawa.
Yeah, there's a small part of me that thinks anybody who still has Scotty not playing Scotty is a gross overreaction.
Thought about it.
But whatever, there are majors to be played and the Travelers and the Memorial. I'll find a place to play Scotty. Yeah, I just think I think Colin. I find it hard to believe that Colin doesn't finish in the top 5. I don't have any reason to suggest that that's not the case, and I won't be surprised if he wins. And so I have him, and I'll be plenty happy to play Scotty somewhere else with the big purse, even if I'm a little scared of not putting Scotty's name on this page this week.
Sobel, you're almost 2 million behind Josh, but you're going with Morikawa as well.
Some of us are earning real money out here instead of this fake one and done money. So I'm okay with it. I'll take last place.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
We didn't have the Puerto Rico Open on this thing for some reason, so I'm playing under protest anyway. Look,
that's true.
Two weeks ago, I took a guy that was way off the beaten path to get leverage because I was so far back. Last week, I went with the complete opposite, and I took Scotty just to catch up to everybody, and that didn't work. So now I'm going to take the guy who's probably 80% owned in this thing, and I'm just going to go down in flames with everybody else, including Josh. So I don't know how to do this thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, a lot of confidence.
Can I pay you to pick somebody else? Because
whatever. You probably should. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, the table.
We'll offline.
If Colin wins, these guys are cruising.
Yeah.
These guys,
4.5 million, right? 4.5 million this week to the winner.
Yep.
Something like that.
So, I mean, we're still so early where even if you've burned a guy or two that you didn't want to burn, if you can hit one of these and actually get an outright with Colin Morikawa, you are in very good shape. So, I mean, we've got a long way to go.
I hope you guys are all ready to answer one of the dating profile questions for me. It's been a rough go here. We need to rewrite this thing. Dating life is not good. My OAD picks aren't good. Hopefully Tommy Fleetwood can help at least. Well, he's going to help one of them. I don't know about the other one's hopeless. So I'm going to pick Tommy Fleetwood this week. Patrick's going with Russell Henley, and he is 650K pretty much above me. So we're going to find out how that goes here this week. Good luck to everyone out there. Let's see where these stand after. I believe this is the richest tournament of the year in terms of purse money. So you got to hit this one. Let's go, Tommy lad. Just for you, Josh. Just for you. All right, final thoughts. See ya. Give me something. Give me a final thought. Anything related to the tournament.
Well, I was going to say something completely unrelated to the tournament.
Go ahead. You can say anything regardless. Yes.
This is such a cool time in sports. We've got the players. We're on the cusp of the Masters. I mean, we're just a few weeks away from that. maybe a little bit more than a few weeks away, right? How many tournaments are we away from the Masters? Either way, we've got baseball starting. There's a lot going on. So this is just a really cool time. Thanks for dialing in with us, and can't wait to keep it going.
Always glad to have you guys here. And as C would always say, and you guys have done a great job in the chat, say this, make sure to please like this video. Before you click out of it, please like this video. Sobel, you're next.
Last one here. I'm already submitting an early entry for EC's dating profile, which is please show up more than once a year like Tommy Fleetwood.
Oh, that feels like a fun wrinkle, finding a way to everything about your dating profile having something to do with a player or a bet that you made or the do not. That sounds great.
We will take screenshots and write it on the air live on the last episode of Early Wedge if I am not an OAD. Go ahead, Josh.
It'll be like filling out a bracket. It'll be great. I think it's such a swing and a miss that the PGA Tour spends so much time trying to make this tournament the fifth major. I think it's so silly because the Players is already one of the more unique events on the PGA Tour schedule every year. Like there really isn't any other tournament quite like the Players. It's in a really interesting spot between PGA Tour events and the majors. And I get it. Everybody wants to be a major. It's not that I don't understand, but there's just so many things about this tournament that are unique and like more unique than some of the majors. Like there are things that some of these majors need to have happen for them to be incredibly compelling. Like the US Open needs to play difficult. Like that is a pillar of the thing. And if it's wet and not windy, looking at you, Aaron Hills, then they rip it apart and it's kind of leaves you
not
hanging.
Fun. Right.
The Open Championship is awesome, but like there's a little bit of a crisis of like how long are all of these courses that we love going to hold up to major championship golf, where just hope that the weather is kind of really brutal and we get that championship test that we're looking for. It almost doesn't matter what happens this week because you have Sawgrass, because you have the way that this thing finishes. It's just, I think it's just a cool tournament. And they spend so much time trying to make it something that's not. And it is the Florida golf tournament. It's been 40 years since a major was played in the state of Florida. 40 years. And
Matt,
they just spend the entire time trying to make it something that it's not. So it's going to be an awesome week. I wish they would chill on that just a little bit.
Producer Matt joins us. What do you got?
I second everything that Josh says, and I hope just for the drama of it that Rory can make it through the weekend.
Yeah.
Do not bet Rory. I'm just going to tell you guys. That's my last piece of advice. Thank you guys. This is an extended show, the longest one we've done yet this year. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Great job in the chat. Always entertaining. Producer Matt, great job. Producer Josh, great job on the air this time. For Jason Sobel, C. Nejad, and the two aforementioned producer Matt, producer Josh, I'm Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as always, as I always like to say, let's hit it big. Good luck.